The stars had never looked so cruel. The Aegis Dawn, a colonial vessel carrying over 400 passengers, drifted helplessly in deep space after a catastrophic systems failure. It had been en route to Epsilon Prime, humanity's last hope for a livable planet. Now the ship was crippled. Only one section remained powered, Engineering Deck C, protected by emergency bulkheads. Everything else was either open to the vacuum of space or too radioactive to enter. Of the original passengers and crew, only 9 survived the incident. Among them were Commander Lyra Voss, a brilliant but emotionally scarred mission leader, and Jace Riven, a civilian terraformer with a reckless charm and a tragic past. The moment the ship was struck, no one knew by what, perhaps a fragment of dark matter, perhaps sabotage, everything changed. Artificial gravity flickered, oxygen became a currency, and hope bled into panic. Lyra took charge, but her command was questioned immediately. Jace, untrained but resourceful, challenged her openly, not because he didn't trust her, but because he couldn't bear silence. He was always talking, always moving a way to stay sane. She saw through it. Their banter started with sarcasm and tension. It grew into something warmer as the days dragged on. Each hour was a fight for survival. The emergency rations were contaminated, forcing them to find protein from recycled plant matter in the biolab. The filtration system had to be repaired manually, with zero suit access through freezing vacuum. Jace volunteered. He nearly died doing it. The tether snapped. Lyra screamed into the comms as she watched him spin out into blackness. "I'm still here," came his voice, barely a whisper. He'd caught himself on an antenna arm, breaking 2 ribs in the process. Lyra dragged him back inside herself. That night, while he coughed blood and tried to crack a joke, she finally let her guard down. "I lost people too," she whispered. "A whole squadron, before this mission. That's why they gave me this one, thought I had nothing left to lose." "You do now," he said without hesitation. In those words, something shifted. As days turned into weeks, the survivors worked to reactivate the emergency beacon. But the damage was worse than they feared. The central power relay was fried, and the only way to boost the signal enough to reach any known colony was to launch the beacon via shuttle. A one-way trip through unstable asteroid territory that had taken out the main ship's shields. A volunteer was needed. Lyra offered herself, no hesitation, but Jace stopped her. "You're the reason we've lasted this long. They need you. I'm just the guy who talks to plants." "You're the guy who saved the air we're breathing," she replied. "You matter, Jace." So they trained together, rewired the old shuttle, ran simulations, failures piling up like dust. All the while, they grew closer. The night before the mission, they kissed. Not out of passion, but necessity, the kind of kiss that says, "If I die, I want this memory to carry me." The shuttle launched with Jace aboard. The beacon was strapped to the rear hull. Lyra watched it disappear into the asteroid field. Then the signal died. They waited. 1 day, 2. On the 3rd day, a faint ping returned. A relay station from the Terra border picked it up. Jace had made it. Lyra collapsed against the console, trembling with relief. 17 hours later, a rescue vessel arrived. Of the 9 survivors, only 6 remained. Exposure, injuries, and 1 suicide had taken the rest. But they were saved. 6 months later, on the terraformed colony of Epsilon Prime, Lyra Voss stared out over a green valley, the first real planet she'd touched in years. Behind her, footsteps approached. "I brought coffee," Jace said, grinning. She turned. His ribs still gave him trouble. His smile didn't. They stood in silence, side by side, breathing air made by science, sacrifice, and hope. "Do you think we'll be okay?" he asked. Lyra looked up at the stars. "No," she said. "But we'll survive." They clasped hands. Somewhere in orbit, the shattered wreck of the Aegis Dawn still floated, a silent monument to the ones who didn't make it. But on the surface, life had begun again. And this time, they wouldn't run. They would build and love quietly in a world made for second chances.